If you could pick the one series that has received the most love on Nintendo Switch, it's undoubtedly Xenoblade Chronicles from Monolith Soft. The Xenoblade series has been a massive success since the console's launch in 2017, with 3 mainline titles released alongside multiple massive DLC expansions. Prior to the Nintendo Switch, only 2 Xenoblade titles existed, Xenoblade Chronicles and Xenoblade Chronicles X. The former made its way to the Switch in the form of Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition in May of 2020, but the same cannot be said for Xenoblade Chronicles X. But that changes today. Xenoblade Chronicles X was first put into development in 2010 after the release of Xenoblade Chronicles for the Nintendo Wii. Originally unveiled as X, this title went on to add the Xenoblade Chronicles moniker, despite not having a direct connection to the title. Ultimately, after a year-long delay, the game was released on April 29, 2015 in Japan and on December 4, 2015 in the United States. Set in 2054, Xenoblade Chronicles X sees humanity escaping Earth after a vast alien war catches humanity in the crossfire. Only a few ships of humanity were able to make it out, one of which was the White Whale, which ends up crash landing on a planet far away from Earth called Mira. As a result, humanity is scattered all across the planet, and New Los Angeles is established as the hub city for the colony. Out of all the Xenoblade Chronicles games, X is arguably the most unique, as it does not follow the typical formula of a story-driven RPG seen in the numbered titles. However, with similar themes and ideas alongside a massive focus on exploration and gameplay, it offers a familiar yet fresh experience for returning players. It's been almost a decade since the game first released for Wii U, and neither Nintendo nor Monolith Soft has ever seemed to want to revisit the title. Throughout the life of Nintendo Switch, we've seen almost every single major Wii U title make its way to Switch in the form of a remaster, expanded port, or even remake. Every game but Xenoblade Chronicles X is here. At a certain point, it really felt hopeless. However, in typical Nintendo fashion, the company decided to shadow drop a reveal of Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition for Nintendo Switch on Tuesday morning. It's not like fans were asking for this release for over 7 years or anything, it's just a game. What's more is that this definitive edition is set to release on March 20th, 2025, which is only a few months away. After around a year of silence following the release of Xenoblade Chronicles 3 Future Redeemed, the Xenoblade Chronicles hype train is back and ready for loading. There is plenty to discuss with such a major release, and today we're going to overview what makes Xenoblade Chronicles X so special and what makes a definitive edition for Switch so exciting. Before we get started on our discussion about Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition, we want to welcome you to our first episode of Beyond the Conduit. If you've been a fan of Final Weapon for a while, you likely know that Payne and I produce Under the Plate, a series specifically focused on Final Fantasy VII. Beyond the Conduit is our second production, with a focus now on the Xeno series as a whole. The Xeno series, or Xeno, depending on who you ask, is near and dear to me, and it's arguably my favorite franchise ever. I've been thinking of all sorts of ideas for content ever since the ending of Future Redeemed, so I'm excited to get started and create another high-quality series that you won't be able to find anywhere else.
Now's the best time as any to go Beyond the Conduit. Xenoblade X was my first game of the series, so I have a lot of nostalgia for it personally. Ever since before we even started Under the Plate, Noah and I threw around ideas for a Xeno-focused series. Sadly, we lack future sight, and Nintendo Soft announced Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition.
Yeah, I really did not expect to wake up this morning, check my phone, go grab a coffee, and come back and see Wario64 tweeting Xenoblade X, and I almost forgot to breathe, but we're okay. So,
Like, I'm not even gonna lie, when I woke up to your DM, like, you and another friend DM'd me this trailer, and I'm just like, oh, did I somehow not know a direct was happening today? But no, it's just, yeah, random day of the week. Here's Xenoblade X, it's coming.
and so naturally, as we do, scrambled all day. I was traveling, but we made it work, and we're here now. And Beyond the Conduit is not launching in January, it's now launching today. So we're here. We're very excited to talk about it. And really, I mean, let's kind of just jump in and kind of start talking about this definitive edition, because it's something that's been requested by fans for, 7 years. I know I've been yelling about it forever.
God, it's always been, every new Wii U game gets some sort of port. Here's Donkey Kong, here's this, here's that. And it's always, where's Xenoblade X? But now we're finally getting it.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, honestly, because throughout the years, we've gotten some, I'd argue, pretty niche Wii U picks, and it kind of felt like Xenoblade X was something that would do quite well, but it was just sitting there on the shelf. And I joked with people forever. It's like I forget what it was, but the last big Wii U title to come and get ported, I was like, man, Xenoblade X is just in Wii U prison. It's in prison, man.
I was just honestly scared that it might never happen. Obviously seeing things like the definitive edition of the first game, there's always that hope, but it just, we all know the Switch is nearing the end of its life cycle, so it's like, man, are we really not gonna get Xenoblade X?
Yeah, right. And I'll be honest, I thought the chances were super low after Xenoblade 3, just because that game obviously was another step in the direction of a mainline quote unquote title, right? And so I was like, yeah, they're just leaving X to die, basically. But I'm really glad that's not the case, because I think it has a story, and really just, the gameplay and the environments, man. I'm so happy that so many people are going to be able to play this. And you got to think about it too. When Xenoblade X came out, I hate to say this, but barely anyone knew about the series. So it's really cool that it's going to get, once again, like Xenoblade 1, a second life, and really come into an environment where Xenoblade 2 sold 2.5 million copies, Xenoblade 3 sold almost 2 million. So you've got to expect that they're looking for a lot of success with this release.
People have been buffing up the name of Xenoblade X, so I think it kind of has this reputation of a cult classic. And just Nintendo's just always done good at re-releasing these cult classics, and they're welcomed back and just expand the fan bases. I even think there could be a chance Xenoblade X could expand the fan base a bit.
Oh, I totally agree. I was looking earlier at the YouTube and Twitter stats, and it's as of now, when we're recording this, over 600,000 views already and over 50,000 likes on the YouTube video. And that's crazy, man. I remember when Xenoblade videos were getting 50k views on Nintendo's YouTube.
Yeah, the times have changed, and honestly, this year's been really bringing JRPGs back into the limelight, so I think Nintendo is just setting themselves up for success with just how much freedom they've been giving Monolith Soft.
Oh, 100%. And I know we talked about it a little bit earlier, but Monolith Soft really is Nintendo's most important studio right now. You look at the support that they've given on Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, New Horizons, Splatoon. The list goes on and on and on. And so I joked earlier, it's Nintendo's here's your blank check, thanks for helping on Zelda, and here you go. And it's funny because Takahashi had an interview around the release of I think it was either Torna or just after Xenoblade 2 with US Gamer, and in that interview he was talking about that the biggest obstacle with X was simply money, and he was laughing about it because he's like, it would be really hard to recreate that because that game is so big and technical. So I don't think this was a cheap port at all, and I think it's really cool that they're doing this. And I mean, I guess probably about time we talk about the trailer, right?
Definitely. So, like, just right off the bat, they're using, like, that classic theme, recreating that shot. Like, well, it's a cutscene, but they just immediately just show, like, something from the opening of the game, and then, like, shots of the world. But what's really interesting is, I'd say, the ending of that trailer.
Yeah. So the ending showing a cloaked figure, which, definitely something that was alluded to at the end of the original game, except it's pretty clear that Lau and we're actually getting what's happening. There's a reason that he's on the beach. We all knew there was, right? But the fact that we're actually going to get to see that story is really cool. And I do want to say, you mentioned the music. I mean, I could go on and on and on about Hiroyuki Sawano. I mean, he is, in my opinion, one of the best composers for so many different anime and just in general that in the last couple of years that I've ever listened to. And I'm so excited that more people are going to get to listen to that soundtrack. But I will say with this trailer, Nintendo, good job not using the final boss theme in the first trailer for the game. Good job. Theme X is a lot better than the Kiwi boss.
But, that's the most exciting part of the trailer. Just ooh, that tease. Because, that first Xenoblade X, I'm saying first because, that's, the most sequel baity game I've ever played, probably. So, they have to be giving us some sort of payoff to that now, right? Surely.
No, definitely. I mean, I would be shocked. I am kind of under the assumption that this is going to be similar to, Future Connected, Torna, Future Redeemed. I would say mostly in line with Future Connected, but I'm expecting around a 7 to 10 hour experience. I do think that there's going to be a significant epilogue. I could be crazy, but I just really do think that they're not going to tease that if there's not going to be significant story. We're not going to get just 1 or 2 cutscenes. It's going to be significant.
Yeah, I think just having pattern recognition, we know that the bare minimum of what they're going to give us is something like Future Connected. And Future Connected isn't as dense or quite as interesting as Torna or Future Redeemed, but it's still a nice meaty thing. You get you could just get a nice tight 10-hour experience. It's just a lean, it's basically a whole new area, and we both know how much you can cover in a single area in a Xenoblade game.
Yeah, and especially in Mira, because remember, Mira has 5 different continents, and what if Monolith was screw it, we're adding another one for this, whatever it's going to be.
Insane.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know at this point, I'm really curious. Yeah, and I mean, I totally agree with you, I think, in terms of if we're looking at the DLCs, quote unquote, Future Connected was probably the weakest one, but I will say, that did so much for me with, resolving Melia's arc after the original game and so much. So I'm hoping that we can get something like that for Lau and just really understanding what's happening and most likely what comes next, because I don't think they go through the effort to add more story if there wasn't payoff coming past this release. And I will say, just talking on the trailer again, I really do like what they've done with the art style. It kind of feels like a mesh of Xenoblade Definitive Edition and Xenoblade 3, so it's definitely more lean towards 1 in terms of realism and stuff, but it's definitely grounded. But you have some anime elements here and there. I do like it. I don't prefer it to 2 or 3 with Saito's art style, but I do like it. I think it's a good, grounded, realistic style for a remaster like this.
Yeah, I'm glad that it's interesting to see them not having the hyper animeification of what Xenoblade 1 had. I think this is both faithful, but also yeah, we have a bit of a better understanding of 3D modeling now. We can just make this art look a bit better, more attractive. I think it has a lot more life to it now. Like you can look at comparisons of like Elma from the original release, and depending on like the lighting of the scene, like these characters can look kind of soulless. But I don't think we'll have that issue with the new faces, and it also looks like new lighting in general.
Yeah, they've definitely overhauled lighting and shadows a lot. And I totally agree. I think the new face models will likely have new animations as well. I think that the characters will just look more emotional, right? And I think I will say it is kind of funny. I did see someone point this out. It's kind of funny how similar Elma and Alvis look now, with the eyes and everything. If you look at like, future redeemed Alvis, there's definitely nothing there. Like, please don't anyone tell me that I'm saying something, but it's definitely funny to look at. And I think it's a nice, I think it's a nice style. I'm really interested in the tech side of things because, again, we referenced it earlier, but this is a significant game. Like, it's not small, and it arguably might be one of the biggest games on Switch next to like Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, Xenoblade X, like the other Xenoblades are big. They're huge. But X is like all uppercase HUGE. Like I still haven't quite gotten that same feeling from any other game like exploring that world.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that has to do with like the verticality of it, right? Like being able to use your scale and just fly. I mean, it's so cool. I'm so excited to get to play this on Switch, and I'm really, really, really curious how it's gonna run in like portable mode, because I mean 3 was a step up, but man, like we need Switch 2, man.
Yes, Switch 2. Which that's another interesting thing about this trailer to me. I'm like, this shadow drop surely has to mean something more, right? Because like we don't have any big event, and this is like, oh, here's the Switch version of Xenoblade X. But like surely could this mean that they're just trying to get these announcements out of the door to make way for like here's the Switch 2?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it's possible. I will say, I think this announcement in particular is very tied to the investors briefing next week for the, I guess it would be second fiscal year quarter. That they'll obviously report sales there and talk with investors. And since this is quarter 2, they do it in quarter 2 and quarter 4. This is where they like actually take questions and stuff. So we will definitely get questions. Now, will we get answers? Probably not. But we will definitely have like questions about Nintendo Switch successor from Nintendo investors next week. So that'll be something to look forward to. But yeah, it's really interesting. Again, I just think it's really funny that you have a game with this demand. And granted, Xenoblade is still a niche series. It is. However, it is just funny that Nintendo was like, it's 9 a.m., it's a Tuesday, let's drop it.
Just mad lads over there. Like, good lord.
They really are. And I will say, like, with the new story, what are your thoughts on, like, the reasoning behind it? So for me, I'm kind of thinking, like, the reason that they're doing this is one of two things. One, the goal is to link it with the main trilogy and make everything interconnected. And I could spend an hour talking about the way I think they're going to do that, and we can save that for another time. But I think that's very interesting if that's what they're doing. And I also think there's another part of me says that this is to set up, Xenoblade X 2 that we seemingly were supposed to get after 2015. But I don't know. Like, what do you think?
I definitely think that, I would love a Xenoblade X 2, but there's also a part of me, like, I'm almost leaning towards, like, they might be using this, like, new story epilogue that they're clearly doing. I think they might just use it to cap off the X storyline, probably have some kind of connection to the main series. But honestly, that's all I can expect, because earlier I almost wanted to go full, like, crackpot theorists like, oh, they're gonna incorporate like all the extra stuff they said that was cut in like the art book. What if they overhaul the protagonist to being like fully voiced and stuff like they wanted to? But that would just be too crazy for a definitive edition port for me. So I think it'll be more so capping off Xenoblade X.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. And I think that's definitely the answer. I think people going into this release expecting like, oh my god, we're gonna see Elma on a beach now, or whoever, name a character. I mean, it's pretty funny. I don't know, man. I'm very interested. Just, there were definitely changes in the trailer in terms of design for certain characters. So I'm really interested to see kind of, is there a reasoning behind that? Did they purposely do something? Because like the one I'm referring to without saying it is Lynn. You know, in the original on the Wii U, she's got two little hair clips that are the Monado, like Shulk's Monado, right? And they show that in the trailer, except she only has one on the left side of her head, which is weird. So maybe that's a scene that she didn't have them on for some reason. I don't know. It's just, that's just weird to me, man. Takahashi messes with my head sometimes. That's a weird omission to change. I'm just saying.
It could be overthinking, but we'll definitely see. Like, that wait till March is not going to be my favorite, because I've wanted to replay Xenoblade X. I just haven't had the urge to go back to the Wii U.
Yeah, and I don't blame you. Your Wii U can now join the bonfire club with everyone else's. I think it's, yeah, March. I was very excited for that, right? Because it's, what is it? I don't remember the day. Oh, it's October 29th, right? We're dropping a trailer. The game comes out in, what, 5 months? That's super exciting. But again, that does make the wait a little harder because it's like right there. But, you know, I think Nintendo does a really good job of that. I mean, we've seen they've adopted that strategy really since COVID and everything. But they've really done a good job of, you know, keeping people engaged and not releasing or announcing titles way too far in advance, right?
Yeah, they've done such a good job that they've released Xenoblade 3 earlier than they first announced. Like, no one else is doing that.
There's always a chance X gets the same treatment. Maybe Donkey Kong needs some more time in the oven, even though it's been done for probably 10 years.
And God, also just the fact having this on the Switch, and also looking at like the definitive edition version of the first game. Something I do wish that they shown off in this trailer was they're obviously going to be retooling that UI and how things work.
Oh yeah, I expect a lot of changes to the gameplay. There's a reason they didn't show it. Like, and I'll be honest, I don't think we see it this year. Nintendo likes to hold cards close to their chest. I think we'll probably get the big blowout, whatever you want to call it, in January after the holidays. Because realistically, you think about it, like, the Game Awards are in December. They're not dropping it there, most likely, right? After that, holidays are there. Boom, it's New Year's. I mean, I don't see them dropping it in the first 3 weeks of November. I mean, the game just got announced. So I think likely we'll get that big blowout in January. But yeah, there's so much to think about there. Like, there's so many areas that they can change with the gameplay and make it better. And yeah, that UI. I mean, as long as, I honestly would personally love like a mode that you can enable in settings that simply just plays uncontrollable throughout every cutscene and every battle and everything. Like, let's just have that be the entire soundtrack. You know what I mean?
I think that, I'm so glad that this game's like coming back, because like I wanna see how the online function stuff's gonna be on something that's not the Wii U. And if this game does sell pretty good like we're kind of expecting, I think there could be a pretty like robust community for the online features.
Oh, for sure. I mean, the fact that they highlighted it on the Switch like description on the Nintendo page, so I think says that they expect it to be somewhat. I mean, granted, they could just be listing features, but this game was just revealed today, and that was a focus of the description. So I think that is interesting. And yeah, I mean, I really do hope that it's big, because there's definitely a lot of fun to be had in those online modes, and I'm really interested to see how they might have retooled it or something like that.
I loved like the treasure trading stuff so that I could get overpowered skills without having to farm.
Yeah, right. And I also will say, like, coming from like Wii U to Switch, for those of you who didn't play on Wii U, Xenoblade X was pretty unique on Wii U because it actually had like downloadable packs that like improved things in the game. And it was basically like a giant patch, but it wasn't necessary, but you could download it and it was a lot of space. And funny enough, the game is smaller than it was on Wii U. I'm pretty sure it's only 15 gigabytes, which is insane.
Rest in peace, Wii U eShop. Can't download these data packs, so you don't have to sit 3 minutes every time you fast travel.
That's I don't know, man. God, that's so crazy.
Yeah,
and
like the Switch is just so much better at loading. The drop in file size is no shock to me. Doesn't have to worry about all this disk reading and hard drive scanning. It's just boom, it's on the cartridge or SD card.
Right, no, 100%. And that's crazy to think about too, just because like there definitely will be small load times, but you got to think about the fact too that, like, again, we talked about Switch 2 earlier. Switch 2 is going to have faster memory, right? It's going to be able to read that faster, and you're going to be able to drop load times even on backwards compatibility, which will be really cool.
I just hope to God that Nintendo is planning PS5-esque upgrade type things. Because, like, just...
I believe it.
Like, even the Xenoblade games, even if they didn't get some, like, crazy remaster 60 FPS patch or something, it's like, man, being able to play Xenoblade 2 at a locked 30 and not constantly dropping below 720p, like, even that would be a much better experience.
Yeah, and I mean, I gotta be honest, man, I would do so many things to have Xenoblade 2 handheld not be like 330p. I'm not sure if that's the exact number, but I'm 95% sure it drops under 360p.
Like, God, like, I honestly think it might be in the 200p's. I don't remember, but it's low. Low.
It really is. It really is. Well, I think that probably does it for this kind of just overview, talking about this really, really cool port that is 7 years overdue, but we're here. And yeah, man, I mean, we're really, really excited for it, and I definitely think that we'll probably be brainstorming some stuff coming in the future about, you know, maybe some predictions for the new story.
Yeah, like, we're gonna have to go into overdrive for this one.
Oh, absolutely. Well, thank you all so much for watching. We do hope you enjoyed this debut episode of Beyond the Conduit. Let us know below if you're interested in the Xenoblade series, if you're a longtime fan, and what you're hoping to see from this series, and we'll be happy to accommodate.
Because we do check the comments. We do try to listen to your feedback to improve our series and also reward our fans.
Absolutely. So once again, thank you all so much for watching, and keep it right here at Final Weapon for all things RPGs.